Hello and welcome to this CHIE Orion overview presentation. The presentation will be delivered by Andrew Elsdon and Julia Warner from the SCW IT support training team. The webinar content will include an introduction, and then Andrew will show you in the system how to look at demographics, patient summary, the medicines viewer and the alerts, the documents, how to produce graphs and trends, give you some key points to take notice of, and then some FAQs will be covered. The CHIE system is a secure system which shares data across multiple health and social care systems, bringing it all together in one place. This session relates to the updates and changes to the system. The access to the new system has been rolled out to people since the 24th of February. Your own organisation will have been told when you were getting your update. Now Andrew will give you a demonstration of the system.
Welcome to the live demonstration of CHIE. As you can see, I am already logged into the CHIE system, and basically this is what you will see if you are using the single sign-on process from your patient administration system or clinical system. I should point out that you will be selecting your patient within your administration system or clinical system, and when CHIE launches, it will display that patient for you. If, however, you are using a standalone version of CHIE, for example, through an internet browser, it is possible to search for a patient. If you go to the button that is to the left-hand corner of the screen, which actually says show menu, when you hover over it, one of the options in there is patient search. After a few seconds, it will give you the options for searching, and of course, as you can see here, you can search by patient's NHS number. You can search by perhaps your organisation's identifier, or you can search by typing in the patient's first name, last name, date of birth and gender. Okay, but that facility is only available if you are using the standalone version. If you're using the single sign-on process, which is what I'm demonstrating today, if you need to change the patient, you need to go back to your administration system or clinical system to change the patient and then re-access CHIE through that system. Just bear with me a moment while the page reloads. The landing page, as we call it, will look very similar to this when you have selected the patient in your administration system. Just briefly, I just want to give you a high-level overview. At the top of the page, we have what's called a demographics banner. As you can see, there are brief demographic details about the patient there. On the left-hand side of the screen, this is called a clinical document viewer, or CDV for short. In the main body of the screen, you will see information that is uploaded by the patient's GP practice. So it will give clinical information that's been uploaded by that practice. As well as using the CDV, on the left-hand side, you also have some tabs that you can click on. We've got patient summary, we've got care network, and we've got medicines viewer. So depending on the information that you need to look at in CHIE for the selected patient, you can use these, which I will be demonstrating shortly. To look at the demographics for the patient, as I've said, at the top of the page here, we have the demographics banner. This banner can be expanded. On the right-hand side of the screen, we have the option to click on the expand button, which gives you slightly more information than what we saw originally. The banner is broken down into different sections. So we have an address section, we have contact information, and we also have the information for the GP practice that the patient is registered at as well. Each of these sections can be brought to the forefront of the screen by clicking on the More button. If you click on More, it will expand that section of the demographics banner for you. And as we can see, I've clicked on the More button for the GP details, and it's given me all this information with regards to the patient's GP address and telephone number, etc. To remove that pop-up box from the screen, click on the Delete button, and it returns you back to the original view. To collapse the banner, because it gives you more space for looking at information for the patient on screen, you just go to the button on the right hand side of the banner where it says click to collapse, and it minimizes the banner again for you there. The default view that you see when CHIE opens is the patient summary for the selected patient in your administration system or clinical system. As we can see here in the main body of the screen, the summary is broken down into different sections, which in CHIE terms are called windowlets. So as an example, we have a section here headed current problems significant, another section current problems minor. Further down, we've got a medicines viewer, and then we've got allergies and adverse reactions and blood pressure, etc., etc. Each of those headed sections are called windowlets. Each section or windowlet will display up to 5 lines of information. So in this particular patient has 2 current problems that are significant. But if the patient has 5 or more, you will need to know how that looks. And just to demonstrate, I have a slide that I can show you. So this is an extract actually from a live patient's record. Obviously, no patient's name are given here for confidentiality purposes. But as we can see in this particular patient's record, the patient has actually got 6 current significant problems. So the CHIE system in the windowlet will show the first 5 problems. You will have a next button to select the further ones. So in this case, next has been clicked, and it then shows, for this patient, it shows the 6th problem in the list. So it's just click next or previous to view that windowlet and the problems within in this particular example. On the right hand side of the patient's summary, we have the scroll bar. I've used this previously, but you can scroll up and down using the scroll bar here. Each of the windowlets within the patient summary are expandable. The button to the right of the heading for the windowlet, which is a maximize button, allows you to do that. And basically by doing that, it brings that particular section or windowlet to the forefront for you, so you can see that information specifically. If you've done that, if you've maximized a windowlet, to get the original view, just click back onto the patient summary tab, as I mentioned earlier. If I click on patient summary, after a few seconds, it will reload the original view for you. And just bear with me while that loads. The next part of the patient summary that I'd like to talk about is the medicines viewer. Now, there are multi ways of accessing the medicines viewer. From within the patient summary itself, as I've shown you with the problems windowlet, there is the option to click on the maximize button next to the medicines viewer header. In the CDV on the left hand side of the screen here, we also have the option to look at medication. In most cases, you will need to click on the flag to the left of the heading. In this case, we can view the medications viewer that way. The most efficient and quickest way of accessing the medicines viewer, though, is to access via the tab. Okay, so Patient Summary Care Network Medicines Viewer, which I'm going to click on now. Once the medicines viewer has loaded, there are various filters that you can use. the list that we see here will be medication, whether it's current or past medication, that sits in the patient's record. And it initially, if I click on the all record types filter, it will initially display all medication. So medications that are on record, issued medications, but it will also include immunizations as well. If you want to filter it, so in this example, if I say I want to filter it by medications that are immunizations, all I would do is click on the other two options. So it unticks them, and then it just leaves the immunizations list. Now, of course, this patient hasn't got any listed, so there aren't any immunizations actually recorded in this patient's record. To get the original view, click on the other two options, reticks them, and then we get the original view back. To the right of the all records type filter, we have filters for searching for specific medications, for medications that have been actioned by. We've also got an option to search for medications or the source of the medication. I'm going to demonstrate that if I click into the medication filter here, this is particularly useful if the patient has a lengthy list of medications and you're wanting to search for a specific medication. So as an example, ignoring the fact that I can see metformin on the screen at the moment, if I start to type in metformin now, you will see that it will filter the view for you. So based on what I've typed in the filter, it's now showing the metformin here. To return back to the original view, you just delete what you've typed in that search filter, and of course the original view then returns. You will see here that the medication view will default to 2 years. I should say that medication is updated by the patient's GP system. Historic medication data always defaults to 2 years, but in some cases there might be more information available to you. And again, if you click into that filter, there is the option to alter the date range if you so require. In the main body of the view at the moment, we are seeing a table of medication. We can toggle between table and timeline. If I click on timeline, you'll see how that sits. May be of some use to you, but it is just a matter of toggling between the two buttons. You can also group medication as well. The default view is grouping by medication, but you can group by ingredient, or you can group by date. The date group by seems to be quite useful because it sorts the medication into date order, with the latest medications on the record at the top of the list. Again, to get back to the original view, I click on medication, and there we have the original view. There are some badges that we see here. So atorvastatin has the number 2 next to it, as does metformin and also paracetamol in this case. That number basically tells you how many hidden lines of information there are for that particular medication. If I click on the flag to the left of the medication, you will see that it will then show me those 2 hidden lines. So if it was 3, there would be 3 hidden lines, and etc., etc. The A basically means that the item of medication has been issued on previously issued on an acute prescription. R means it's been issued on previously issued on a repeat prescription. In some cases, you may also have a current badge to the right of that prescription icon. If it says current, it means that it's a current medication recorded on the patient's record. Okay, that's the end of the demonstration for the medicines viewer. To get back to the patient summary again, I'm going to use the tab for patient summary. And after a few seconds, you will see that we get the original view loading. Just bear with me whilst that loads. just need to demonstrate something in the CDV, so I'm just waiting for it to reboot. There we go. It's back on the screen again for me now. The next thing I just wanted to demonstrate is using the CDV tree, how we can look for specific information. So we've got the example I want to show you is the alerts and risks. Again, I found the item in the list in the CDV. The number in brackets, by the way, signifies how many pieces of information are in that particular heading. If I click on the flag to the left of the title, you will then see those two options. And in this demonstration, I'm going to click on the risks and warnings, which has been uploaded from the GP clinical system. And then similarly to the patient summary, it opens up into different windowlets. In this case, a windowlet headed allergies and adverse reactions, and another one for contraindications. Okay, so this patient has one adverse reaction and one allergy recorded in their record. I should point out in some cases there is a warning that displays. This is a warning, so allergies, diagnoses and other information may not appear in the expected session. Please review the whole GP record. So it's just basically indicating that at this stage information may not be held in the right place. So you just need to have a look through the CDV tree for other information if necessary. The CDV tree itself will be populated to display any document that has been added by various organisations across the Hampshire area. This isn't necessarily a typical CDV for a patient, so I'm just going to show you another slide. Again, this is a screenshot that's been taken from a live patient's record in CHIE, and it's my belief that this will be a typical example of a CDV when you're viewing a patient in CHIE. Another thing I want to show you in here using the CDV tree is how you can view documents. Now, before I view a document in this list, I just want to show you how you can use some filters at the top of the CDV tree to sort this in a particular order. If you go to the top of the CDV tree to the right of clinical documents, there's an icon that looks like an eye, which allows you to configure the document tree, and it allows you to select different filters in here to apply. And this demonstration, I just want to group it by organisation and apply, and you'll see how that then sorts the CDV tree for documents that are listed under different organisations across the Hampshire area. The example I wanted to show you is under the Hampshire Hospitals NHS Foundation heading. Again, I need to click on the flag to the left of the title, and I just want to show you that I'm going to just go into the respect document just by clicking on it to show you how that will then be viewable. And of course, on the right hand side of the screen, we can use the scroll bar to scroll up and down. The document is viewable here. If you need to print the document, it is just a matter of using the left click on your mouse and dragging across the document until you get to the bottom. And then if you use the right click on the mouse, you then have the option to print. Now, if you do that, you will then have a printable document. I should say that any documents that you print should be handled under your own organisation's record handling guidance. Now, I don't need to print that now, so I'm just going to click cancel. If you want to return the CDV tree back to its original view, you just need to click back on the patient summary tab. And by default, it will sort it back to the original view. And again, just bear with it whilst it loads. Finally, I just want to show you another item within the CDB tree, and this is looking for laboratory results. And particularly, I want to show you how you can see the information in a table, but also on a graph with a trend as well. So this example, I'm going to go using the CDB tree. I'm going to click on the flag to the left of laboratory. And I'm just going to demonstrate the hematology. So I click into hematology, and the result I want to look at is the full blood count. Again, I click on that. And you will see that the that particular laboratory results will then appear in the main body of the screen. Now, in this example, we have out of range results highlighted in red text. I should say that due to system limitations, historical results for patients do not highlight the out of range in red. Okay, so just be aware of that, that in some cases you might find out of range results in the normal coloured text rather than red. To plot the results on a graph, in this case, in this demonstration, I want to plot the out of range results on a graph. It is just a matter of clicking in the tick box or the checkbox to the left of the result term. I'm just going to do that now. And then at the bottom of the table, you can then click on graph. Okay, the graph button incidentally is grayed out until you've ticked at least one of the checkboxes. And then that will plot it on a graph for you. Now, again, this isn't a particularly good example of the graph. I just want to again show you a copy of a screenshot, just to give you an idea of how that might sit. The first screenshot I want to show you is where if there's more than one result for, in this case, the full blood count in this scenario, it will actually plot those results into the same table. So for this particular patient, the initial blood count, the first set of blood counts was in August 2020, and then we see the latest, which is always the first column, the latest results that we're taking in December 2020. So as I demonstrated in the live system, you will then tick the relevant or click in the relevant check boxes for the ones that you want to plot into a graph, and then when you click on graph, it will then look like this. So this is a more typical example of how the graph will plot the trends for each of the different individual terms and results that you see. Now, okay, I've returned back to the CHIE system, and what I am going to do is just show you how to get to the original view by clicking on the summary tab. And that ends the live demonstration. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. That was really useful. So just a few points that we want to make you aware of as we go through. Some of this was mentioned, and I'm just reiterating. Other bits you may not have heard yet. So the old results data that came from the previous systems does display differently from the new data, and therefore it can't be plotted onto a graph. So that's a feature that will become more and more useful as you move forward. Some of the data that's come through from the TPP or System 1 clinical practices is not in its correct category. If there is anything that's come from a System 1 TPP practice that is not in the correct place, there will be a miscellaneous folder. If there isn't a miscellaneous folder, then you haven't got an issue with that. But if there is a miscellaneous folder, it is worth having a look in there because things may not be in the correct category. Also to mention that everything that's currently coming through from Portsmouth Hospital is appearing in a unspecified documents category. So those 2 documents folders that you need to keep your eye out for on the CDV tree. A couple of other points. Avoid using the browser back button. Even if it is visible and there, please avoid using it. This is particularly an issue if you are using an integrated system where you're launching it through from your PAS or your clinical system, because it will end up messing up the view of the data you get. If you've got any doubt about any of the data that's in there, check with the main information source, which you will be able to see where it's come from. Remember to use those sort, search and filter functions that Andrew demonstrated for you there. They really help to make sense of the data and give you a much richer view. Bear in mind that care plan data is not necessarily complete at the moment. That is something that's being worked on, but they may not all be up to date. This is where we would normally take any questions. Well, instead, I'm just going to direct you to the website here, which will be available in the comments in this video as well, where you can find out more information about the system. Thank you for attending this presentation. You've got some details here to contact the CHIE information group. We would suggest where possible that you use the email, that's info.chie@nhs.net, although you can try the telephone number, but you're much more likely to get somebody on the email. And a reminder that the training materials where this can be found is here. And again, we'll put a link in the comments. Thank you very much for watching.